Well, hello there. Welcome back to my studio. My name is Monica, and today we're going to do a little bit of play. And I have chosen to use this composition notebook. And as you can see, I've already got several like backgrounds and just all sorts of stuff here. Um, I wanted to do something in here because I just got back off of vacation. I've been home for like 4 or 5 days, and it has been like crazy. Um, and I just wanted some time to play in my studio with like no set agenda. And we just redid our living room. This is a little bit of a preface before we start on this because I want to tell you why I'm doing this or where I got the idea. And you can do stuff like this, um, when it comes to your own home too. I would like to create some artwork for my living room. We just redid it, and it's the walls are like a light sage green, and it's a lot of uh, cream color and texture, very kind of woodland, I guess, or nature based. So I want to create some artwork for my walls, and I want everything to be inspired by nature. And so I thought today would be kind of a way to explore maybe some of the things or the um, some ideas that I have. And one of my all-time favorite ways to work is to just throw a bunch of paint down and whatever else you can think of and start carving out, an image. And, and this was a bird and a moon, and it's very abstract. You can tell what it is, but I like to play around with edges also, like creating hard edges or maybe soft edges. You can also do stuff like adding in gold accents or ink work on top. And this is a way to that I like to experiment with creating patterns, especially if you like to doodle. And this is another one that I did. um, and the fun part about this was I threw a bunch of paint down, and then I wanted to experiment with carving out some circles, but with different background colors. And then I went in on top of that and doodled on top. So you can do, pretty much whatever you want to do. And I like working this way. I like carving shapes out with my paint because it's very meditative, doesn't require a lot of thought. And so I thought that was kind of what we would do today. And I have some acrylic paint here. This is just craft paint, except for this burnt sienna, which is some Liquitex because I don't have craft paint in that color. And this is pretty much the palette, like in my living room, minus the blue. Um, and I just want that in case I need to darken something. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and I'm going to start adding colors to this paper. And these composition notebooks are really inexpensive. And once you apply acrylic to them, the pages will thicken up because the acrylic is basically plastic. That's it dries like a plastic. So it'll stiffen up the pages a little bit. You don't have to worry about being, super gentle with these. So grab whatever you have. If you want to paint along, you can do this with any. You can do this with any palette that you want. So you don't have to use this palette that I have. Um, and I am randomly grabbing paint and just throwing it on here. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm not trying to create anything, and I don't have anything in mind. So it's just about getting paint on the paper and um, creating something interesting. And you can create interest with your brush strokes. Um, if you don't want to do like any sort of scratching in here or writing, I mean, that's another option. You can do stencils. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. that you can do to create an interesting page. I prefer just using my brush. And if you like using your brush, like I do, then you can always grab a different kind of brush. So this is like a filbert, and it's going to make a different mark. So I can, just add little marks like that. And if I don't like it, then I can just go back in here and cover up what I don't like. Um, so my idea for creating something for my walls in my living room, um, I really love plants, and I would like to paint maybe some fern leaves, and frame those and put those on the wall. And I'm not sure if I want to do that in watercolor or if I want to do something like this. But I thought this would be a good start to see, what direction I want to go. I could even do this on canvas. I could do these big or small, but I'm going to keep the orientation. Like, I'm not going to do a huge spread. I'm going to do one leaf on here and maybe another leaf over here. And just kind of keep this mixed up a little. Like I said, there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just getting paint on here. And I really do love stuff like this, like these little brush strokes that are created. And it doesn't require any effort or a lot of thought. So I have a lot of ideas as far as what I would like to put on my walls. Um, Birds, butterflies, plants. And so I'm going to use those themes in the artwork that I'm going to start creating over the next few weeks. And as I'm painting this, I was thinking about one of the comments that I had on another video. We were talking about the creative process and how these days creating seems very transactional in the sense that um, we want to hurry up and make something really quickly. We want it to turn out nice. um, and a lot of creatives are making things for social media, for follows, for views, uh, to drive people to their website for sales. And I think it has kind of in a way cheapened the whole process. I think that creating is it's the act of creating in and of itself, and maybe not so much what it looks like at the end. Um, and we need to learn how to slow down and take our time and actually enjoy the process, because really that's where the joy lives, is in the process itself. It's not about speeding through something to get to that final result. And it's funny because that often is one of the things that we talk about as far as life goes. And it's not about, meeting a goal, because you're always going to be trying to get to that next goal. It's supposed to be about the actual journey itself. It's a, and the same applies to art. And um, I think we do a disservice by posting, and I'll get off my soapbox here in a second, but posting videos that are about 30 seconds long, whereas the actual process itself took days or maybe took a few hours. And we're actually doing a disservice to the people that watch it because they have no idea the time that it takes, and I think it kind of cheapens everything. Um, and I think we need to get away from that, just start slowing down a little bit, which is why I like doing this kind of play. I mean, at this point, when I look at this, it's just pretty much a big mess, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay. And um, I think we could all use a little bit more play, especially um, these days. I know a lot of people are not feeling the greatest about the state of the world that we live in. And um, this is a way to get away from it for a little while. Just calm yourself, calm your mind, take your mind off of the rest of it, and just focus on what you're doing here. This is playtime. So I think I'm going to get a little bit more green up here. Okay, I think this looks pretty good as far as the variety, and I like the brush strokes in here, the texture that it's creating. So I'm going to dry this, and then when I come back, I'm going to map out my fern leaf. Okay, so this is pretty much dry, and I've got a white charcoal pencil, and I am just going to sketch in here the shape of the leaf that I'm going to carve out. So I was thinking maybe this could be like a full unfurled leaf, and maybe over here we can do one that's more like a fiddlehead, maybe partially open, that kind of thing. So I think I want to have this be kind of curved, and I'm just going to make like a little triangle up here. I'm going to do basic shapes for these leaves, and I can always go in if I want to, um, you know, make these leaves lobed. I can go in with my paint and kind of carve that out. But these are going to be really pretty abstract. They don't have to be, this isn't about like super realistic kind of stuff. Um, I am, however, going to map out my overall shape here. So I think, I'll have this go up, and it's going to get bigger at the bottom. And the nice thing with these charcoal pencils, you can just rub your hand over it and get rid of it if you want to erase. So these are going to be my stems coming out for each of the leaves. I think doing houseplant leaves would be really fun too. So when I'm creating something like this, like in this style, it often changes. So once I start going over this with paint, um, it could very well change. Uh, and that's fine. This is just a little bit of a map that I'm creating for myself. And this was a little bit wet, and I just tore the page. So be careful with that. Something else you can do too is, really look at the colors that you have on your page, and you can take advantage of um, the colors strategically by where you place your leaf. So I'm going to grab a smaller brush because I've got to get into some of these little places. And normally I would go in here and carve out um, the background with white. But I think I'm going to use a mixture of this off white and white. And all I'm going to do is start painting around the shape that I just drew. And you can make these backgrounds as opaque or as transparent as you want. You can always thin your paint out with a little bit of water. Um, as I'm sitting here painting, I've got snow that's and ice that are like sliding off my roof. Makes a really awful sound. Um, yeah, we're still in the throes of winter where I live. It's been pretty brutal this year. So painting something green feels really good. And when it comes to painting like this, one of the things that I like to do, I like to kind of play around with the edges of things. And you can always wet your brush and cut into some of these shapes and blur out your line so you don't have a hard edge. And you can get this really like soft, ethereal look when you do that. Maybe I'll do that after I've got this completely carved out. Okay, so I have got a basic shape carved out, and I am definitely going to add another layer of paint to this. And while this dries, I'm going to go over here onto this side and sketch something out. And I just wanted to say, you do not have to sketch anything out. If you just want to paint randomly and carve out the shapes as you go, that's a great way to. Uh, paint like this, and you don't have to use plants either. You can pick any subject matter, any palette. I do want to say though that if you do try this, the only thing that you really need to think about, I think, in order for it to be successful is the contrast. So if you've got like really light colors for your background, you may want to use something a little bit darker so the background really pops out. So I think you can see here the idea to try different backgrounds, and I think same thing with this. I had a really light background, and I wanted to try a navy blue on top of that. And this one, I cannot wait to use this spread. In fact, I might do this next. I love these colors, absolutely love them. Um, okay, so this side, I want to do like a fiddlehead, and I just have to say, I'm sitting up here in my studio, and this is like a converted attic space, and we've got snow coming off of our roof, like sliding down off of the roof, and my dog is not happy. Um, so she's kind of freaked out, actually. So I want these to be really curled under like that, and I might have to use um, just like a really small brush. I don't know. Maybe we can just do um, some really small leaves coming off of here so it doesn't get too complicated. And we'll do them at different you know, like different angles just to make it a little more interesting. So I think that needs to have a point on it. And then as I start coming up here in the curve, then I'm going to start curling these leaves a little bit. Remember that when you're doing this, you're just creating a map for yourself, so it doesn't have to be like super exact. I never follow this line usually, so um, something like that. And then I'm going to go back here and I'm going to start laying in another coat of paint. And something I did want to mention too is I ran out of my acrylic paint. Um, so I'm just mixing from my white and adding in a little bit of this yellow and some of this light brown to get the color that I want. And I'm going to switch to a different brush, a little bit of a smaller, or actually I think this is a little bit of a bigger flat brush than what I was using before. I might have to stop and console my dog. I don't know. She's under my desk right now. Yeah, I know. It's okay. So now that I'm starting to carve into some of these leaves and create a little bit more of a shape for them, especially around the edges, I am going back in with a damp paper towel and wiping out these charcoal lines, these white charcoal lines, because it can get a little bit confusing. So I want to make sure that I get rid of these, especially where the stem is, because it gets a little bit hard to see what you're doing. Mm. And if you're curious about a color palette, maybe that you've always wanted to try, but you haven't really had a chance, or don't know, you know, how to start, you can always do something like this. And this is a great way to test out colors that you would never, usually pick. And you might be pleasantly surprised. So well, I am going to keep on carving out until I get a really nice opaque kind of background. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry, and I may go over some of these edges again, just to clean them up if that's what I want to do. Um, in previous paintings that I've done, I've used a heavier body acrylic, and I usually buy. It's fairly inexpensive. It's a student grade acrylic paint, but I like working with the heavier body paint because you can see the brush strokes, and I think that looks really cool. It's something to experiment with, definitely. Um, Something else I wanted to say is that when you finish, you can always go back in and add details on top of this because it's acrylic. So I might do that on this leaf. I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to go ahead and start. And I think for this one, I might go just a little bit lighter. I think I'm going to go ahead and try this Artist Loft white and see how this comes out, because we've got not a lot of surface area that we're um, going to keep as far as what we painted. So maybe I can go in here and just add some other leaves so that we can take advantage of um, all of this green. I don't want to lose all of this paint. So maybe these are just some other types of plants in here. And like I said, I'll just pencil these in really quickly and create a little map for myself. And maybe we can create another plant. Okay, so I finished two coats on both of these pages, and I have some distress ink, and I think I want to maybe put some on here. I've never tried this before on one of these types of paintings, but I figure, you know what, why not? So I've got this. This one is antique linen, and I think I want to see what this is going to look like. And I've got one of these little spongy things. Um, I don't know if this is, yeah, I want to tone this white down a little bit, but not a lot. I don't know if you can even really see that. Maybe we use a darker color. I know I want to use a darker color on this side and make like a little, like a vignette. And I know I don't want to use black. Let's see. Okay, this is walnut stain. So I thought it would be kind of neat to go around the edges of this. And you never know really, what's going to happen until you try it. So I know that I want to do something else, maybe add in some veining or some penwork in the background, maybe. This is all just play, whatever you feel like doing. I could go into each of these leaves and do some doodles. We'll see what we end up with here. Okay, I'm going to try this same stain on this white, and yeah, I don't think I really care for it too much on the white. But I've got to carry this throughout now. Um, I don't want to just leave it in one area. So I want it to look sort of intentional. Not like I made a mistake and then stopped halfway through. So this is a vintage photo color. I just want to check out the color of this. This is a little bit darker. That's kind of neat. We can kind of frame this out a little bit. And it's picking up like the texture of the paper. So I'm going to let that one dry. And while that's drying, I think I want to go over here, and I have some of these Le Pens, and this is a retro color pack. I like them because they're super fine tipped. I'm not quite sure this color is going to be. Yeah. if we're going to add some veining or we're going to add some line work to this, then it's got to be a nice contrasting color. And I might just go with some black, and I'm going to use a 03, I think, or a 02 micron pen. And I'm going to go around. I'm just going to start going around the stem and the leaves, and you don't have to follow exactly what you've painted. It gives it a little bit more of an illustrative kind of feel. And I just hold my pen, towards the back. And it's a lot easier to stay loose if you do that. I think I'm actually going to grab a thicker pen, because if we're going to do this, right, we're going to make sure that we can see it. So I've got a 08, and I'm going to go back in and go right around this. And when I add in the veining, I'll use a thinner pen, but for this part, the outlining around the leaves, I'm going to use a thicker black pen, just so you can see it. Okay, so I have a gold gel pen, and I think that's what I'm using for this. Maybe we can add some little gold accents out here. We'll just do, I'm just going to do some little dots and some spirals, I think. Okay, so I went in here with some graphite and I didn't like it, and I took my brush with some water and just wiped it out. And when I did that, it took out some of the distress ink, which is fine. I think I like this anyway with the white background. So I'm going to leave this one for now, and we're going to call this one done. And they're never really completely done, because I can always go back in and add some more doodles, or add something else to this border. But I hope you enjoyed this. Give this a try. If you don't feel like carving out an image, just grab your paint, and you can just create some backgrounds, even if they're um, just using up paint, which is actually what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to go ahead and coat some more of these pages that I have in here, so that anytime I want to play and I'm not sure of what I want to do, then I can just automatically go in here, even if it's with a pen or maybe a marker or something like that. So Yeah, I hope you give this a try. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Take care.